When the first fleet sailed into Sydney Harbour in 1788, watchful eyes were required to avoid an abundant navigational hazard that lurked in the waters, a hazard long since erased from the landscape and our memories. They were oysters, packed into spectacularly dense reefs that could reach 4 metres high and stretch unbroken for kilometres. A similar sight would have also greeted Hudson when he sailed into New York Harbour. In fact, these enormous oyster reefs were a common sight in temperate estuaries all around the world. That is, of course, until the Industrial Revolution came along with its tragically efficient fishing techniques and scraped the oyster reefs from the seafloor. Ecologically, this loss was catastrophic. That's because oysters are habitat-forming species. They turn relatively structureless substrate into complex three-dimensional structures that provide many tiny habitats within which invertebrate and fish communities thrive, fauna that underpin the broader coastal ecologies. In Australia, we've wiped out over 99% of our oyster reefs, hence the restoration potential is huge. And considering we're facing the next mass extinction event, now more than ever, conservation strategies are needed to curb this biodiversity loss. My research aims to develop an efficient conservation strategy for preserving our marine biodiversity and help it adapt with the changing climate. Here we have a not-so-delicious oyster lollipop. I've deployed these up and down the breadth of the New South Wales coastline to see where and when oysters provide the greatest benefit to associated fauna. I've shown that the convoluted three-dimensional structure of oysters provides shading and traps moisture, which can reduce the extremities of heat and desiccation stress that are a major killer for intertidal fauna. And importantly, I've shown that oyster habitat provides more benefit, ameliorates more heat stress in the hotter northern climates than the cooler southern ones. Hence, as climate continues to warm, we might expect that oyster reefs become even more important to preserving biodiversity. In buying associated species precious time to adapt with the changing conditions, oyster restoration can be used as a climate adaptation strategy. So preserving our marine biodiversity for the future, the world is our oyster. Thank you for listening.